Hi, this is Nick Maley here in St. Martin. They call me the Yoda guy because the pictures of me assembling the radio controlled version of Yoda that was in Luke's backpack on Empire Strikes Back. And I'm here to say hi to the Cantina Club.
We all know round here, Solo always does shots first. Singing your no, raise your glass, and sing your no.
Well, we are actually back. We haven't had any content in quite a while, but the Cantina Club is finally back now that Mando is back. So we're going to basically jump right into talking about the first episode of season 3. That's called The Apostate. And I'm just going to start it off by sending it to our helmeted No Weird Gundark. What did you think overall? What were your impressions of the first episode? We waited a while for this.
Oh no, you removed your helmet.
You are
removed my
unclean.
helmet.
You are unclean.
Cast her from the video chat.
Yes,
I
you
removed
must
my
be
helmet,
cast
but
out.
I wish that's what Mando could do.
You're a Cantina Club member no more.
I
As the armorer would
am an
say.
apostate now. I'm an apostate.
We've always welcomed apostates. That's no problem.
That is true.
I love
Yeah, we have had Danny on the show before, so
Yes.
Yeah,
We
what
welcome
was that?
all kinds of aliens and xenomorphs and everything.
Grand Moff Tarka. And
exactly. Nice.
I loved this episode. I really, really enjoyed it. I've watched it a couple of times now. Both times loved it. Enjoyed it even more on the second viewing. So we can talk about details in a minute, but I had a lot of fun with it. I'm glad to have the show back.
Excellent. All right. And what did you think, Greedo?
Overall, I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. It was more of a question of what is the show doing, and I have questions about it. And there was some. I watched it a second time as well, and I was a little less impressed with it the second time. I thought there was some pacing issues, and I'll go into detail on it. But
Yeah.
Overall, I think they have a winning. They obviously have a winning formula. It's just
Agreed. Yeah.
my questions are always the same with this show. Is when are they gonna advance the story and things like that? So
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I enjoyed it. I watched it twice as well, just like the two of you, and I was the opposite of Greedo. I enjoyed it more the second time. Still liked it the first time, but yeah, overall, I think it was a good setup episode. Wasn't a mind blowing type episode, but it was good, solid, and I look forward to seeing where they're going from here. So, all right, well, let's just jump right in. I do have a question actually about the very beginning, the opening scene. Maybe I missed something. I'm kind of confused, but the opening scene where they're initiating a new young, Mandalorian into the Death Watch or whatever they call it now.
children of the Watch,
Children of the Watch.
whatever they call it.
Yeah. Anyway, so my question is, okay, I get all that was going on. You start out with seeing the armor. She's forging the new helmet. That's great. But all of the imagery was Boba Fett. Did you guys catch that? What's going on?
You mean like the coloration
sigil
of
on the wall,
helmet
the
and
sigil on the wall, the coloration of the helmet, the flags that the banners they were even holding had the F on it, even with the Boba Fett symbols and all that. I was like, this isn't just Mandalorian symbology. This is Boba Fett symbology. So that kind of threw me. I wasn't really sure what was going on there. I don't know if you guys caught that or what you made of it.
No. I wondered then, are they trying to make another crossover with the Boba show, or?
But it doesn't make sense. Why would they be?
I think it's more like that's just Boba Fett used Mandalorian imagery.
Using Mandalorian imagery.
Like
yeah, I thought about that.
The skull is the mythosaur that was on the wall, but it is also on Boba Fett's
his
breastplate.
Particular sigil, yeah.
And then the F you're talking about, which looks a little bit like a Fender F, if you're
it really does.
It's always looked that way, and that's back from when they first redesigned Boba Fett from a stormtrooper to a bounty hunter.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not an expert. There's got to be some Boba Fett experts who can tell us in the comments what that stands for, or where it came from, or what the current, kind of mythology behind it is. But I have a feeling it's more. These are Mandalorian symbols that Boba Fett.
They were appropriated by
Jango Fett. Appropriated, which is weird because Jango Fett started off with fancy armor with no markings really, and then Boba Fett, even though he had even less of a connection to Mandalorians. I mean, it was gifted. The armor was gifted, he said, from Mandalorian to his father. So I don't know why. I guess maybe he just thought it was cool, or maybe he appropriated a different breastplate at some point from a Mandalorian. Anyway, who knows? They'll come up with some comic explaining it, but but that's a good point. And even the kid, in that first scene, I think the intent of the first scene was to make us think we were seeing a flashback.
Yes, it was a bait and switch.
Then
I
we
was wondering
began,
about that too.
then we began to see things that didn't fit, like the guy with the John Favreau's character with the big machine gun. He shouldn't have been there if it was a flashback, and the armor would have to be really old if it was a flashback.
Right.
So we begin to figure that something's wrong. But also, I thought the kid could have been a young Mandalorian, or he looked a lot like Boba Fett as well if he grew his hair out. Yeah. So you're right. There's some, I think it's just implying a common mythology with all these characters and a common origin. And also the symbolic breaking of the oath. Right in the middle of the oath, he stops because they're attacked. So Othus interruptus or whatever.
No, you're really right. It was kind of done. It seems really on purpose. Right at that point,
purpose.
She was right in the middle of saying, "You shall never again remove," and they stop.
Helmet,
and he's repeating it, and he stops right in the middle.
Right, he stopped right at that point.
Is he bound by that oath? And I think there's the implication there is the Mandalorian himself truly bound by this oath that he made as a child that probably didn't even know what he was swearing to, and is there a parallel that lets him off the hook? Which I think, what does this guy need to do for them? He's constantly fighting their battles. He showed up with his ship, which we got a good demo of the Naboo Starfighter and its capabilities, because Mandalorian's doing everything they could on that snapping turtle or whatever it was. And they,
the alligator.
The alligator had it's like the
Mando
perfectly
Florida
engineered to fight Mandalorian. It's like, oh, you're gonna grapple me? Well, I'm gonna death roll your ass.
Exactly.
And, everything about it. I thought it would come out with some kind of acid, like their flames. Like it would do something to counter that.
Right.
But anyway, he came in and whooped its ass and saved a bunch of their lives. But he's an apostate, so they don't care.
So they don't want him there.
The question I had about that opening scene is, where the heck did all those other Mandos come from?
This is a good question.
Do I remember correctly? Didn't the armorer say there were only 2 of the Death Watch left? Her and
I think Vizsla said that, or one of them said it. Yeah, the implication was they were just continuing to work, even though they were being led to a dead end. They were just going to keep the faith. But I think they're showing a contrast between the fortunes of Bo-Katan later in the episode and the fortunes of the fanatical sects that are gathering these cast-offs who are looking for something to believe in and a purpose to fight for and things like that. In rough times, the price of gold goes up and fanaticism becomes a more bankable philosophy. So I think they're implying that there's some rough times, and
they're beginning to recruit.
People are going back to beliefs that may or may not save them. They got nothing else. It's like that's my implication. They showed a direct contrast at the beginning with how well the fanatics are doing and how poorly the whatever you would call it in contrast are doing, represented by Bo-Katan. So there's probably more to the story, but I thought that was interesting. And it occurred to me right away when I realized it wasn't a flashback. That's the first thing that fools you, is how many of them there are. Like they look like this is before they all got killed and stuff, but evidently there's more of them around the galaxy to gather, and they're also bringing in people. I wonder how that works. Like, if you're a Mandalorian who's lived like Bo-Katan has and you decide to convert, can they convert you even though you're an adult? And you haven't followed the way? It seems like they'd have to have some way of doing that, but
the other thing about that opening, and here I'm gonna pull a Greedo, a little plot thing that kind of bothered me, was like when the big alligator attacked, is like, get the children into the cave, and then why not like get everybody into the cave? And why not you just everybody flap into the sky? Didn't everybody have jetpacks? I mean, why do they have to fight the alligator?
If you go back in the cave, it will
You
just
know,
leave. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's kinda
Yeah, just go into the cave. I mean,
Now,
what?
I'll say we've missed the story up to this point. I don't think the alligator thing was completely unexpected. Like I think they've encountered it before, and they probably want to get rid of it for this base that they have here. It seems like a poor
Believe
choice.
you're defending it.
It's kind of like Land of the Lost. Let's take this cave that's right in front of the T-Rex, stomping
Yeah.
ground.
No.
He's or the Allosaurus or whatever, always coming by, but let's just live here anyway and just deal with it all the time. We have to run past it every other day. So I
I,
think
th- I, I
they
thought it was.
probably had an ongoing battle with this thing and were wanting to take it out, and maybe thought they had, but it came back for more.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought maybe it was something to do with the creed that they couldn't back down from a fight like that, or
That's what I was kind
something
of
like
thinking too. It's
that.
kind of
It
the
was in the
mentality.
script.
It's kind
Yeah,
of
it
the
was in the
mentality of
script.
the Mandalorians. They don't run from a fight. Yeah. If something jumps out of the
They
water
have
at
they
them,
have
they're
to
not just
try
going to
every
hightail it backwards.
They still have weapons to try. It's like they're the pocket knife, the Swiss Army knife. It's like we haven't even gotten to our explosive darts yet or anything that we're gonna shoot in its eyes.
Right.
So probably the Mandalorian dentist is gonna run out there and drill its teeth, next. There's a big drill on his wrist plate.
Okay.
But
Since we're on that subject, I had a question too.
Uh-oh.
Maybe this is a continuity error. I don't know.
are
Or
we gonna
maybe I
get
just
past
missed
are
it.
we gonna get past the first scene?
Probably not. But as they're in the middle of fighting it, the armor has walked out and she brought the helmet, right? Why does she suddenly have her forging tools with her? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
She
She
actually has
still
her
had the
forging
gloves
tools.
on too. She
Yeah,
still
it's
had
like,
the.
why did you bring those out with you? And she didn't have them in the scene before. She just like pulls them out of her like a holster or something.
Yeah. I think she probably tucks them in her belt or something because
Probably, but what good are
she is
those going to do
shown.
against that big thing?
Well, it's
Maybe
it's
it's
not how much
symbolic
good
or
it's going to
something.
do. Yeah, it's going to do that. She's an iconic figure, and if she's got this moment to die, she's got to die with the hammer in her hand because she's shown that when the stormtroopers found her, she just whooped. She pulled out
Oh,
the
yeah.
hammer. The
Kick
hammer's
their
more.
butts.
Yeah, the hammer's more than that's her symbol.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know what her symbol is. I haven't looked. I don't remember seeing on her armor, but it's got to be something like that. And so yeah, if she's gonna die, she doesn't resort to crude weapons like blasters and things. She does even
Right.
cruder with the hammer, but she's an artist with that. So if you can find the weak spot, and she can hit it with the hammer, I wouldn't underestimate her with that. Plus, if you're fighting a giant creature and you're in armor and you're probably going to get swallowed, you might want something in your hands to go to town with on the inside,
Yeah.
so it'll spit you back up or you can get out.
That's funny. All right, so let's move on past the first scene finally.
I did want to say one more thing. They were thriving, and it looked to me like the both of those characters, the armor and is it Paz Vizsla? They look to be taking on more responsibility as far as like being active and like they were protecting their clan members and stuff, which I don't know. They did that with the Mandalorian in season 1 where they showed up for him when he was in trouble and bailed him out.
Right.
So they still have this characteristic of looking out for each other, but I'm wondering if this is foreshadowing that Paz Vizsla may end up with the Darksaber. Instead of, I've always thought it was going to be the Mandalorian, like, he became king by his own hand. But if they decide to keep this series going, they can't just make him, they can't do what they did to Boba Fett and put him on Jabba's throne and leave him there.
Right. Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm wondering if he's being set up as the leader that will maybe unite things and get the Darksaber, because he mentioned that it's from his family originally in the Boba Fett episodes.
Right.
So anyway,
that's true. Yeah,
that's the things I kind of gleaned from that. I didn't pick up the Boba Fett connection like you did, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting. All right. So basically from there we got
a recap of the Boba Fett episode. So I gotta go. What? Yeah, bathed in the living waters. Okay,
right, exactly.
Apostate. See you later.
And then, of course, we get them, traveling through hyperspace after the conversation with the armorer, where they just, like you said, reiterated everything that we already knew from the Boba Fett episode, that you're an apostate, you shouldn't be here, and there's no way to redeem yourself because the living waters have been destroyed. But if somehow they haven't, then sure, you can try it, kind of thing. So then we get him traveling through hyperspace, and we get a glimpse of Greedo's favorite Star Wars characters, and those are space whales.
Space whale.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad to bring this into the conversation.
So we get Grogu looking out the little bubble at the space whales that are out in the
I can-
hyperspace lanes there.
I can't wait for the space Captain Ahab. Well, maybe we got him or later in the episode
Yeah,
already.
maybe. We might.
But what are they implying with the space whales? It's a crossover with Rebels, right? So are they like maybe forecasting
Carillion, you want to
Ezra,
take this one?
Ezra and
I don't think
Grand
they're
Admiral
forecasting
Thrawn, or-
anything. I think it's just a nod that Filoni loves those things because he created them for for the shows for Rebels and all that and Clone Wars, and he just I think because they always put those little Easter eggs in from those shows.
But
I,
weren't the space
That
whales?
was a big
weren't the,
Easter egg, though.
yeah, weren't the space whales a part of the disappearance of Ezra and
Mhm.
Thrawn? So
Are you
could-
asking questions that you already know the answers to?
No, I'm not sure. I can't. I
I'm just
truly
wondering what
can't
you're getting, what you're driving
No, I
at here.
truly can't remember. I thought they had some important role to play at the end of Rebels. So that
Well,
seems
yeah,
to
that's
me.
why they went into hyperspace at the
Well,
end. They
their
were
their
the
oil,
space whales had a hold of the ship, and then they blasted off into hyperspace.
and the space whale oil is used to make the hyperspace fuel and to
Right.
light the lamps when you're in hyperspace. So it's they're an important resource.
To light the lamps.
They render the fat of the whales down to oil on Mustafar now and
But
make
you
it
know, the search for
hyperspace fuel.
the search for Ezra and Thrawn is probably going to be the big part of Ahsoka, right?
I
The
think
new
so.
Ahsoka
Yeah, I believe
series.
that's
So
where they're gonna go.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering if
I think
they're
that's
making connections
yeah,
there.
there are. It's like an
Yeah,
advertisement.
I mean it's something that
for,
we'll get
remember,
eventually. Yeah.
remember this? Remember
Episode 1, season
yeah, are
3.
you getting
Yeah.
excited for Ahsoka and the space whales yet?
Right. Woohoo.
Yeah. Thrawn with the giant brain could not foresee space whales because they don't make any sense to his giant brain whatsoever.
Right.
Couldn't plan ahead for those. Those
So-
space whales knew he needed to be stopped. They drew him with
So
tentacles.
Din and Grogu arrive at Navarro, and we get the Mando shake. The classic
Yeah.
Mando shake.
Mando shake.
The iconic moment.
You got to be careful. You could set off wrist rockets or something doing that.
Exactly.
Then it's game
That'd be
over.
hilarious. They kill each other accidentally like that. Oh, that would be funny. Wrist rockets.
Engrave Karga has one-upped Lando by having cape droids.
Cape
Oh,
droids,
yeah, the
cape
exactly.
droid.
He has
The
one
cape
up to.
droid.
That's a good point.
Mhm.
Those were
I
hilarious.
have to say, I loved that part of the episode. That was one of my favorite parts.
Hmm.
It was great seeing Carl Weathers back as Grief Karga. And he gives such substance to that character with the comedy aspect of it. He's just wonderful in playing him as like somebody who was an old bounty hunter who really is a petty bureaucrat at heart, who's just been,
Right.
oh, now I get land and I get to settle down and I can run all these things. And then trying to sell Lando some land.
Mando
Like,
Calrissian.
I got
Mando
I got this great parcel of land here,
You
can
knew he
sell
was
down.
up to something though, because he was getting angry for being interrupted, and he's like, "Hey, I'm right in the
Yeah,
middle of a
yeah.
sales pitch here." You knew-
Exactly.
I was figuring it was going to be the only thing about that prime tract of land is the terrible monsters you have to clear
Yeah,
off
you
of
gotta
there
get rid
Yeah.
of those monsters, Mando.
that are threatening the other parcels of land or whatever. Yeah, I thought there'd be some catch, but it was I think you wanted him to be his
The
sheriff.
sheriff, yeah.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
wants him to be the sheriff.
Settle
And of
down.
course, the
Be
first
Andy
thing
Griffith,
I thought of was
Andy
let's go
Griffith with
get
Opie Grogu.
yeah.
Gropey.
And his response to Grogu's name, Mando's trying to, it's Grogu. He's like, "You're still with this little critter? Is it Grogu? Oh, what? Oh, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, whatever you say.
Whatever, Dolly. Whatever, dude.
Yeah, completely discounted it.
Star
Like,
Wars
yeah,
name?
whatever. Moving on. Yeah, that was great. No, that was good. And then of course they try to retrieve the remaining parts of IG-11 from season 1 to try and turn him into, for some reason, Din is obsessed with the fact that this is the only droid that he can take with him to Mandalore to explore it, and he's going to risk all their lives even though he was so completely not trusting at the beginning, at the first couple of
But,
seasons.
wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute.
Mhm.
A big turning point at the end of the first season was him being willing to take off his helmet in front of IG-11. I mean, that's when IG-11 became more like a person for
Agree.
him.
No, I agree with
So,
that. I agree with that.
yeah, so I think
And maybe
I think
because of that, whatever bond he felt like he made there, maybe that's
yeah.
the reason why he thinks IG-11 is the only
Also,
one he can take.
IG-11 is the only thing left of Queel,
Mhm.
who
Yes.
was his
That's a good point.
most
Yeah.
trusted friend, actually. And Queel told him, Mando tends to he'll like dispute things at first, but then when he's proven wrong, he accepts it as
Yeah.
gospel. And Queel told him, "Do you trust me? Then trust my work."
Mhm.
So I think he just accepts that as gospel, that whatever, if he finds anything that Quill worked on,
Yeah,
he's
that's an
gonna treat it
excellent
like
point.
gold.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's an excellent point.
That's why he trusts IG-11 so much, because he trusted Quill so much.
Mhm.
So it's like his legacy left to him. And you ought to wonder why he doesn't just go get a probe droid with no personality, and program
Mhm.
it. But they're trying to, have some continuity and bring back a character that we all liked and
Sure.
everything. So,
But
and
can
it,
I say
Mhm.
that about bringing him back and someone that we really like? He was one of the best characters from the first season. And at first, I remember really loving the Easter egg of seeing the statue, in the background of
Mhm.
Navarro. And I didn't think to do anything further with that. And at first, when they said, "Oh, that's his parts," and then they got the idea of bringing him back, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, because for me, one of the best parts of the first season is that you have a couple of characters who are just wonderfully developed that you really invest in. Quill and IG-11, who sacrificed themselves at the
Mhm.
end of the season, and it's just so moving. And I had to give kudos to the showrunners for being willing to kill off two popular characters, two really great characters that they had put a lot of work into. And it seemed to kind of like up the stakes of the whole quest of that season, that they're
Right.
willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the child. And so just being able to bring back someone from that, oh, let's take him down and bring him back, kind of, it worried me. It felt like it diminished
Yeah,
the sacrifice of
I
that
agree.
character. But
Yeah.
then when he got brought back as a Terminator,
As the Terminator,
yeah,
exactly.
that kind of made up for it. And
Back to its
maybe
original programming.
if they have to work to bring him back too, maybe that makes it a little more okay for me.
Sure, sure.
But it was kind of like that's just a
Yeah.
cheesy attempt, to cash in the popularity of a character from the first
Right. And
season
it
at
would have been
first.
too easy, like you said, had they just flipped a switch and suddenly he's back and everything's good. It's like, well, what was the whole point of the original sacrifice
Yeah,
anyway? Yeah.
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 Well, I
Got it.
think also, if you're going to take anything away from the semi debacle that was the Book of Boba Fett, and Mandalorian's involvement in it, is he did take away from that Boba said you need some people around you at some
Yeah.
point, and you need people you trust and people that you're friends with, which is weird because he comes from a world of bounty hunters where you're friends with no one,
Yeah.
because you're just temporary partners until you find a way to make more money by
Mhm.
betraying your partner or
Or you
whatever.
get shot in the back.
Yeah, or you get shot in the back or whatever. So, but in a way, I think he's looking for connections like that, and going back to, like I said, one of the only characters he actually trusted, and IG-11 is a product of that character, and his programming was to protect the child. So, so that's what he's also what he's thinking of. But um the main problem I had with it was not bringing back IG-11, because I'm cheesy enough that I don't care. I wanted IG-11 to come back immediately. And I never wanted Quill to die, because I thought he was a tremendous character
I
that
agree.
established some there's characters that bring legitimacy to a fantasy setting. Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, was one of them. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, as odd as it seems,
Mhm.
brought it down to earth and established legitimacy. But
Mhm.
Obi-Wan, everything you said, you believed him as your intro to the world. There's Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, and Quill or Queel, however you pronounce his name, was kind of like that in The Mandalorian. He never said anything to mislead you. Is trustworthy. He'd seen both sides, all the different sides of the galaxy. He was a source of wisdom and work. You know, he could do work for you. He was a great guide. Even if he guided you into a situation where the odds were really bad, it was still the only way through. And so, and the way that they played him was so down to earth and everything, that even though it's this ridiculous Ugnaught character and everything, he lent legitimacy and heft, I guess, to the environment. And you need characters like that. So I kind of disagreed with killing him off in the way that they did and everything. I felt like it was just for stakes. And I think some shows like Walking Dead and some others have shown us that leads to a dead end eventually. If you're just going to kill characters for stakes and just to show that you're willing to kill them, it's a way to do it. It definitely has an impact, but you can get a lot more impact by doing it more naturally, by writing the characters longer, and finding a better end for them, I think, sometimes, than just killing them for the stakes of the end of a season or for a cliffhanger or whatever. But anyway, IG-11, I don't mind him coming back. What I mind is that I had this line that I came up with, that Mandalorian is the best adaptation of a video game since The Last of Us,
It
but
doesn't have a
there
video
is no
game.
video game. Yeah. So again, we're on a side quest to find the part for IG-11, and it was like, wah, wah, wah. This is one of my big problems with this episode, was they cannot stay on point. And I know Mandalorian is about world building. I think at the end of all this, it may just be about world building at the end of it, and selling some cute plush toys or whatever. But so I know they're gonna go somewhere to get the IG-11 part. I don't know where, because he tried to go to Bo-Katan next. But so I imagine there'll be some world building, there'll be a side quest, some new characters, but the side quests are just, oh my god, please, can we have some stakes? Is the stake of the whole next episode going to be whether IG-11 comes back or not because of a part? I mean, that's cool and all, but it's not the kind of stakes we built up to for 2 seasons.
Right.
And it's better than just filler. Okay, it's better than just being stranded on an asteroid for a whole episode and finding some cool stuff on the asteroid. But
Bad Batch season 2.
Excuse
me. I stuck there.
Yeah, Bad Batch season 2. The Bad Batch of episodes. But I'm ready for some more tension back in this show that they only seem to get for 3 episodes a season or so. And they had some cool stuff in this episode, like the little gunfight with the pirates was showed you that these guys still have their edge, and these pirates are a match from. The asteroid field was pretty. The soundtrack was. I loved the soundtrack in that scene, bringing in the Mandalorian theme.
Yeah,
it also showed you that Mando is still a hunter, like he was in the prison episode where he kind of snuck up on everyone, even though he's in armor and clanking around. he snuck up on the pirates and just outsmarted them. They really, they have no skill set like he does. And so all that was pretty, and there was no tension. I no way did I think Grief Karga was going to get gunned down by a pirate in the street.
No.
That would be Deadwood, that wouldn't be Mandalorian. So I didn't feel any tension, and the asteroid field was just pretty to look at, and to see the ship going through its paces, and the cool way that Grogu tucked himself into the belt so that he wouldn't, like having a safety belt, stuff like that was cool, but there was no tension. And the pirates, I'm just these characters that I'm used to seeing from Rebels and from Clone Wars, that are these side characters that maybe someday will evolve into something I want to see, but right now they're just, to me, a distraction. They're cool enough, but I just I don't want to dwell on them. They seem to be wasting time on my screen. The pirate ship was cool. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but I'm just tired of the galaxy just constantly throwing these dumb little speed bumps in Mando's way. Like everything he tries to do has 10 speed bumps in front of it he has to do before he can get to the part that matters.
Yeah.
And they mentioned Moff Gideon and everything, but I just feel like the actual plot is still hiding somewhere or it's coming. Are we gonna? How many episodes are we gonna wait? Until they get to it. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope they push it. But I'm wondering if a lot of the cool scenes we saw in the preview trailer are at the end of the season. And it's just gonna be filler until then. So my faith is a little shaken by that, because I'm still gonna enjoy it. They can make 100 episodes like this, and I would enjoy it. I'm easy to please with this, but I'm gonna question it. Like, can we get on with it? Can we do something sort of like the end of season 2? It just seems like they've gone to a lot of trouble to undo and put us
Yeah.
back into holding pattern again, and where things just are slow burn, slow. So anyway.
I can see what you're saying. Talking about this episode with a friend the other day, she said that she was kind of worried that everything that the evolution that Mando had gone through with taking off the helmet, and becoming a different person to save the child and becoming a father seemed kind of like it was undone with this quest to return back to the Death Watch, to
That's
be willing
been
to
one of
go
my
to all
problems.
these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why?
Like,
Why
why are you
Yeah,
so
why is he
obsessed
going
trying to go
back?
back? Yeah.
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 Yeah, and why she said also why when he's been warned by every other Mandalorian he's met that this is a cult, hadn't he begun to rethink all that, especially since he removed himself from the cult in the first place and made
I really thought that's what it was going to be about, was showing him other ways. And Bill Bird's character did the same thing.
yeah.
Showed him that these rules aren't, he could have lied when she asked him, did you take your helmet
Right.
off?
He could have just said nope.
Yeah, he could have said only when it was absolutely necessary, because your code would have killed me, and I had
Right.
I had things to do that are more important than this.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, is when is he going to realize his life and the lives of those dependent on him is more important than the way,
Yeah.
and that they can't coexist, or they need to evolve. Every fundamentalist religion goes through a reformation, and there's some kind of leader that provokes that reformation. But there's
Maybe
usually
he could be that one. Yeah.
yeah,
But it
I
doesn't look
mean,
like it's going that route.
yeah, it doesn't seem like it, and I don't get why he wants the approval of the armor so bad. She's been his guide and everything, but he has had other guides now, and he's had examples of how to live differently and everything. So it does feel like just throwing in a quest just for a quest. Like we're really struggling just to get back to the beginning of season 1 again. When he gets this done, is it, are we back at square one?
I'm wondering though if it isn't somehow related to the fact it seems this season is going to focus on Mandalore. And so maybe they've got to, for the sake of the plot, have something related to Mando trying to figure out his place in Mandalorian cultures, and because they're obviously in this episode they're focusing on the clash between factions, when he meets Bo-Katan at the end, and you begin the episode, it kind of frames the episode, different Mandalorian ways. So maybe that's part of the focus for this season on returning to Mandalore. But I do wish they maybe had a different way to do it that would allow him to have kept the evolution that he went through in the first couple of seasons of the show, rather than just retracing that. And I wonder too if they do it just so they could keep the helmet on him and then not have to have Pedro Pascal there.
That's the other thing.
I really
that's the
think
other way to
that's
look
it.
at it. Yeah.
I really think that is
the
it.
rumors are out there that they're going to recast, and I hate
well,
that.
Also, he spent a better part of 2 years or something working on The Last of Us, and that was a huge faux pas on the part of Disney or whoever. I mean, that's part of what put this season off for so long. And I have a feeling they did have to rewrite some stuff, and we're lucky that it's flowing as smoothly as it is, but it really, we got to be honest and say it doesn't seem to make much sense. It doesn't,
No,
because
it really doesn't.
When you're looking at character journeys and evolution into season 2, I said what was so shattering about that to me, about his performance and everything, was you just saw a guy stripped of everything. Like he had nothing left in that moment, and you had no idea where he was going to go next. He was surrounded by people with their own agenda. He had said he might help them, once he got the kid to where he's supposed to go. But when he took that helmet off, that was more than just taking a helmet off and showing his face. It was stripping away everything. There's moments for characters where their identity is destroyed, or it seems to be destroyed, and it's part of the process of what's next. You know,
And then
building
he had to
what's
let the
next.
child go on top of that. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah, he was
really,
losing everything that
yeah,
all parts of his identity, the part from he built from the child, and the part he built from his helmet, and the whole, and he was learning that gradually from characters like Bill Burr's character, and he was seeing alternatives that led him to that point to where there was nothing more important than that goodbye in that moment, and it was coming from a broken person. You know, this guy, he's not a leader. He's constantly following everyone else and following suggestions, but he leads by example. Okay, so because he's so dedicated and persistent and able, people end up following in his wake, or he ends up benefiting the ones around him just because of his drive, his persistence. He's slow, but he's persistent, and he always finds a way. You know, they say this is the way or whatever. So I was thinking at that end of season 2 that this is the beginning of something different, where he's going to become more of a leader at some point, um, and pick up all the pieces and establish who he is from all the pieces that are left. And
that may happen with the quest to retake Mandalore.
yes, I think it's just slower. I think they're going to
Yeah.
go the same way, but it was so well done, and so paced well. I mean, it felt like a slow journey through those first 2 seasons, paced really well. And I'm ready to see his face, you know, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sitting there going, oh, gotta look at this helmet some more, you know. It's not bothering me, but it's Pedro Pascal, you know, come
Yeah.
on. Why did you cast him to be a voice artist?
Right. You could use
Yeah.
It makes
any
no
body actor to
sense to
do
me.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
And
stuntman could just do it, you know.
Yeah.
they've done it at the cost of a tremendous mythology that people are into. You know, all the YouTube channels and Star Wars fans talk about this stuff and create more out of it and everything. But it's not the Force, you know, it's not like it's not that big to where we need to keep on dragging it along and honoring it for 3 whole seasons or whatever. So, but I get there's something there's things we're not
Yeah,
officially
we're
told.
not privy to that.
Of
Yeah,
course.
that's
Yeah.
determining that.
His availability is definitely affecting that, and they made some kind of deal where he could come in and do the voice and not have to do the face. But man, it's that's my major thing is, I liked where the story was going at the end of season 2, and the Boba Fett episodes where they addressed the Mandalorian were great. They were fantastic episodes, but it ended with just like hitting a reset button, and now it feels like we're completing with season 3, hitting that reset button, and that just doesn't seem worthy to me of a whole season, you know. So, but it may not be a whole season. I may be, you know, I may be wrong, and
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays
I'm
out, but you make
definitely
really good
on board,
points.
you know, but I don't want them to just keep dragging this out because this is their most successful show and their most successful
Right.
marketing, and we got to keep Grogu on the screen at all times because that's what keeps the women tuning in. You know, the only women in Star Wars are tuning in to watch this. Because it's, you know, let's face it, the other offerings are weird. It's like Bad Batch, you try to put a girl in there to draw girls in, but it's a man thing. It's
Yeah.
just it's all it's like Rambo's squad, you know, with a girl suddenly in there.
Right.
There's no reason for
Like the
women to
A-team
really
with a
watch
girl.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really almost no reason for women to watch that unless they just happen to be into it. And Andor, very male series. Now it had a bunch of perspectives and stuff in it, but you know, Grogu's definitely the most marketable thing they have.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I can understand, but hey, the thing is, you don't create one thing and then just sit on that and milk it to the end of time. You keep creating, you know, you come up with something just as good as Grogu somewhere else or better or whatever, you know, you come up with new things, and that's what I want to see them do. And anyway.
Okay, I just want to make an aside here. Gundart, I want to see if you caught this. I don't know if you guys lost power or lightning struck where you are a few minutes ago when Greedo said the words, I'm easy to please.
I'm kind of surprised Greedo didn't get struck by lightning himself with
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
statement.
Oh, I'm easy to please. What? It takes nothing to make me happy.
And then look at what y'all just said. So
I am easy to please.
That's right. Absolutely.
Very, very easy to
Easy,
please.
easy to please.
Just make it good, damn it. Just make it good.
Just make it perfect. That's all
You have
I'm
a
asking.
50 you have a 50-50 shot of making something good. I feel like just throwing things randomly.
Okay, Guido, you haven't said all that. I agree with you about all that. And those were that's kind of my hesitation about this new season, is I have all those feelings too. But the quality of this episode was just, it was so charming overall. And it may be too just I got Mandoitis or something. I just so
We haven't seen it in a while.
need
Yeah.
Mando again. I need to
Yeah,
have
I just
this
need a dose of
show.
Mando.
No,
Yeah.
And
I agree with you. It was full of charm. It really was.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the salacious crumbs enough to make a whole
Yeah.
cake hanging out, and you saw the what were they called? The Babu Frick and his people.
What were they called? I wrote it down.
Anselmans or something like that.
Anzelans, I think.
Yeah,
Anzelans?
Anselans.
That was
Yeah,
it.
Anselans, yeah.
Yeah. And you had Grieve Karga kneeling down that little opening, shouting the translation
Yes,
through.
that
was
was a
that's
really good
just
scene. I really
That's
enjoyed
freaking
that.
gold. You know,
That was
who would think
perfect.
who would think this is the best stuff in Star Wars? You know, is
Well, see, that's
stuff
what I
like
was
that.
thinking the whole time I watched that episode. I was like, this is the Star Wars TV show I wanted when I was a kid. You know, if this had been
Mhm,
on
yeah.
when I was a kid, this was like awesome.
I
And
could
so
forgive it a lot more as a
for
kid,
all
though.
of it not forwarding the overall plot or for feeling like it's a reset, I still enjoyed the hell out of it. And
And
Yeah,
that's
same
part of
here,
my
same
that's
here.
part of my
maybe hold on
problem.
just a second. Hold on just a second. It may be that if they keep with episodes like this, I will tire of it. You know, but hey, you had your say, so I'm gonna have my say now. Quit
I was
looking at your
I was
watch.
just checking the time. You know,
Quit looking at your
long
watch.
second.
I'm gonna have my say now.
It's been a second. You asked for a second.
As long as they give me about 2 hours now.
All right, go ahead.
As long as they keep making episodes like this, that will make me happy. Although if they don't have enough that progress to a more significant plot that kind of makes up for the reset that they did, then I'll begin to lose patience with it. But
Mhm.
this episode was just so delightful overall that I have to cut it some slack right now. It's the beginning of the season, but maybe I'll feel differently as we get further along in the season if things don't start progressing more rapidly, or if they just keep going with this, going back, resetting to what he was before, and we don't get any sense of the evolution that he underwent in the first couple of seasons. Maybe that will begin to bother me eventually. But I've got to, at this point, I watched the episode twice and I just loved it. And I thought, well, maybe the second time I watch it, I won't like it so much because those things that are bothering me will bother me even more, but it didn't.
It was the exact same for me. The things that bothered me the first time they seemed inconsequential second time.
Yeah, this just seemed like it captured old original trilogy charm. You know, they got episodes. It's one of the great things about this show is that even when they've had episodes that don't make a lot of big plot progress, a lot of them have captured that old charm of the original Star Wars, of sitting in the theater the first time and seeing that first movie. And so I gotta give them credit for that with this episode. But I do have those same reservations that you have about the future.
No, I feel like
worried me yet.
I feel like they lean into the comfort zone a little too much and don't shake things up quite enough. Now, granted, if they're going to bring in space whales, I don't want them to shake that hard.
Yeah.
But the Mandalorian from the very beginning has been selling us hope. You know, hope that the next episode something will happen. The next episode something will happen, and we like the episodes. We rate them highly, even when they're filler. We rate them highly. We enjoy them. So there's something to be said for that. But I've said before, this is the show. You know, I figured it out a long time ago. It's smoke and mirrors. It's a shell game. They're promising you the thing behind the shell when they're giving you the other shells the whole time, you know, but what's in those is good, but they're not, but they showed towards the end of season 2, they could really give us, some action, some comedy. I mean, the pacing of that last episode or the last couple of episodes and some of the character moments in that were a cut above. I mean, they just were. And when you show me that and then you pull back and say, patience, I'm just not that zen. I want more of that stuff, at least twice as much. It doesn't have to be the whole time, but I want it twice as much as once you show me you can do it. And see, the thing is, they even implied, they went so far as to go to pulling in an MCU reference. They started implying like Infinity War Endgame level stuff, bringing in Luke Skywalker, bringing in Ahsoka, they started blowing our minds with stuff. And it's hard to go back for me to just, we got to find a chip for IG-11 now, and this could take 2 or 3 episodes. We don't know. And that's my only thing is I know it's the show. I still buy in though. The show is the journey. It's not the destination, but, and so far this episode was to me a cut above all of Boba Fett, except for maybe that second episode of Boba Fett. Just the look of it, the feel of it, the characters bring way more interest to the screen to where, you're not in that same environment on Tatooine where it just didn't look great. Look at, they were walking around a lot. But I just wonder, are we buying into the comfort because it rings the bell for us? Like you said, it reminds me of
right now. I don't care.
Old school.
I'm glad to buy into the comfort right now. But I do hope that I get something more in the future episodes. But
we just hope it's going somewhere. But at the end of 5 seasons, and if they call it a wrap or something, and all he's done is upgrade his armor, upgrade the kid's armor, upgrade his ship. You know what I mean? And built his droid companion. It's like, this is a video game. We have to face it at some point. It's a video game, and we're just doing looting. We're killing random monsters and looting them and stuff. But anyway, I'll stop with that. I just that's the thing that's always bothering me at the show. And I even made my own episode about where does the Mandalorian go from here, and they kind of undercut my theories by bringing Grogu right back and kind of ignoring, where season 2 left us and everything kind of resetting. But I will say also, we don't get political here. We really don't. But bring back Cara Dune, that's just my opinion. I don't care about the politics, so somebody else can deal with that who's got a higher pay grade than me. Maybe the actress is more trouble than she's worth if she won't quit or whatever. But the character's needed. I know she doesn't have universal fans. There's a lot of people who thought it was a flat character, or they have different criticisms. We don't criticize actors on this, on our stuff either.
Exactly.
But I thought she was great. I think she's needed, and just dropping her name gave me that hope. It's like the character's not dead. They haven't just, because a lot of shows would just say, "Oh, well, she was eaten by a sandworm or whatever,
killed in a battle or something."
Interesting that they actually I thought they were going to say, she was killed or something. They were gonna come up with some crazy reason for why she wasn't there. But it fit right into what happened in the show, and it also left open the idea of that other show of the Rangers. That she was
season 1 was really, the parts where they advanced the story and they built the characters was really great. These characters that are left have earned that spot with me where I want to see their stories continue, and she's one of them. Like I said, I could care less about real world politics unless there's just something so heinous that you can't employ this person or whatever. But that's above my pay grade. But I don't understand why you can't make it work. Maybe she doesn't want to come back, but I wish they would try, because I would love to see. I don't know about a recast. I don't know that I would like that. I think I'd rather keep it the way it is. But if at all possible, bring her back. And the spinoff might not have been the best idea in the first place. It's like too much out of too little, trying to spin off these characters and create these real thin shows. Unless you have just a tremendous idea and tremendous writers. Why don't we keep the gold in one spot, the best car in one spot, and make this as shiny as possible and make it as good as possible. So that's my other note from this, was hearing her name drop was awesome. And I'm a huge fan of that character. And I don't, like you said, the real world doesn't matter to me. I'd rather see the character back. And I know that's just, I'm not saying anything political at all. I'm just saying, if there's a
Right.
way to bring that character back, I'd be down for it. I would sure love to see
Well,
it.
I wonder if they didn't do the name drop specifically for that. Because that kind of
To
struck
see a
me.
response
That
from people or
yeah,
something.
Mhm.
because
I
that
really
kind
Testing
of
the
don't. I
waters.
don't. I don't know that Star Wars fans care all that much.
yeah.
Either
No.
way, there's a group that's very, very hardcore in her corner, and there's probably a group that's very hardcore against her.
I'm
But
sure. Yeah.
it's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Whatever happens a long time ago. Can we?
Agreed. Let's
I
move
mean,
on.
can't we figure out
Do something.
forgiveness
Do what's
and
best for the show.
yeah, this whole season is supposed to be about redemption, right? Or whatever.
Mhm.
Or so can we
But
not do
not
that in
in
the
but not
real
in real
world?
life.
Yeah, in the real life, we're not allowed. So
No redemption exists in real life.
yeah. It's a lesser show without the original characters
I
in
agree.
it to a degree. Now
Yeah.
they've got plenty they can bring in, and I'm sure they'll surprise us. They've got a great track record. I'm always for moving forward and bringing and expanding and bringing new characters in, but even some of the ones that I didn't like at first have grown on me. Some of the comedy relief and stuff. So I do trust in them to that degree, but they put a lot of work into that character, and I just loved the scene with her and the Imperial pilot, shuttle pilot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was just to have
That
that go
Alderaan.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
Absolutely
have
go
that go
nowhere.
nowhere
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. I'd love to see the
No.
rest of that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
so
just to go along with what Greedo was saying there, I take a little umbrage with what you said. I get what you're saying as far as not having payoff, but I feel
mhm,
like we are getting payoff on episodes. I think it discounts it a little too heavily to say that, oh, every episode all we do is just a shell game. It's like what comes next and what comes next and we're never getting anywhere. I don't agree with that. That's the nature of serialized television. You have to push that envelope to the next
mhm,
episode to get people to
sure.
watch. You're not going to wrap it up and put a big bow on it every episode. And I feel like we are getting payoff, on episodes that we've been watching. I mean, the show. I mean, we wouldn't still be here in season 3, interested enough to do episodic shows about this television show if we weren't getting a payoff. I feel I'm not sitting here hanging on for, well, I hope by season 5 we see something happen. It's like we've had good episodes, we've had solid episodes that we look back on, way more good than bad. Yeah, we get
Yeah.
the
Absolutely. Yeah,
big
yeah,
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker payoff at the end of
yeah.
season 2, and that was phenomenal, that was incredible. But I
The
guess
crate
I guess that's
dragon
what
at the
I
beginning
took
of
from
season
what
2
you're
is
saying.
great
It's a
too.
shell game or smoke and mirrors. I feel like there's more to it than just them playing a shell game with us.
No, I don't deny their world building all the time.
Hmm.
They're world building all the time. It's not like Book of Boba Fett where they just stayed in one place, which really shocked me. I thought
Yeah.
that show was going to go all over the place. Um, they are world building, and I respect that. But and they're sticking to their guns of showing the underside, kind of. And Grief Karga has almost become too respectable, for this show. But I also wonder if this is it Navarre or is it
Yeah,
Navarre is the name of the
Navarre.
planet? I wonder if they're setting it up to be kind of um like these characters are leaving a legacy, whether they realize it or not. There's a statue to IG-11. People have gathered, like these characters are bringing hope, even though they started as despicable characters, by unintentionally standing up to the Empire for their own reasons and stuff. That they've created something that is pretty, when they were flying over the city and they were showing you all that, it was done for a reason, to give us an overview of what's changed. So I'm wondering if that is going to become a part again where that's under threat, and the people turn to their, kind of their people who founded the new Navarre or whatever, new Navarro, whatever it's called.
Hmm.
And he
And
made a big deal too about them turning down being part of the bureaucracy of the New Republic too.
mhm,
That they were going to follow their own way.
yeah,
So yeah,
which is very interesting because it fits in with the sequels too. I
yeah,
think, and that's another thing I found alarming about the space whales is it seems to me to be a confirmation that we're going to stick to what's happened in Star Wars, whether we think it's very good or not. Because I would love to see them reinvent the wheel when it came to the sequels. I know it's
Oh
impossible.
yeah.
I'm not holding on to hope of it or anything,
They're never going to do
but
that. Yeah.
they're never going to. So this thing of saying the Republic is flawed and we need something independent fits right in line with the
yeah.
thinking of the sequels to me.
Hmm.
So and it's perfectly fine because it's true. You do need more than one system. The idea of this Republic governing everything fairly wouldn't work in a real world scenario. So So anyway, yeah. So are we at the end of the episode? He goes to see Bo-Katan, right?
Oh, I love
After-
that scene.
Yeah, that was really, really
I
interesting.
love it because it was just so like, what the hell? I mean, they're flying over a planet, and he says, "That's a Mandalorian castle," and Baby Yoda's looking at, oh, Mandalorian castle, and then they land, and there's one single robot there.
Yeah.
It
to
doesn't
greet
do
them,
anything.
and then they go in and they walk like 1,000 miles down the entry
Right.
hall to the presence chamber, and she's just
Oh,
like
that was hilarious.
lying on her throne, like, oh, and I'm like, what, do you lie around on your throne all day? Is that
That's
all
my
you
thing.
do?
Like, you have nothing to do
Yeah.
but lay around and feel
She's-
sorry for yourself.
She's in
She
between
seems-
Netflix drops of a
Yeah.
series. Like she binged
She's in a
it.
show hole.
Just
Mando.
waiting.
She looked out the window and saw Mando walking down, and she's like, oh, no. I
Yeah.
gotta go get on my
He's like, "Oh,
throne.
gotta go,
I
gotta
gotta
go. Oh."
assume the pose. It's like, what?
And that I thought that was one of the most awkward poses they could have chosen too.
Right.
It was really awkward. Like how can you have any kind of commanding presence when you're just sprawled on this thing?
Sprawled back like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it was a little too casual or
And
something.
if you're that bitter about not being the ruler of Mandalore, I guess maybe that was the implication. I'm gonna get whatever throne I can and just, God damn it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lay here all day on my throne. I can't have Mandalore, so at least I got this throne. What is that? They're like their summer house or something of them, of her
Right.
family, their
Or
castle,
summer castle.
Summer
their
castle.
summer castle. Like, what?
Yeah,
But
that's a
love
great.
that
That's
because
actually a
of
great
that.
point, Greedo, about the body positioning. I just thought it did take a little bit away from the scene. I kind of pictured it more of like if they had her almost like to make a Lord of the Rings comparison, like Denethor, just kind of
Yeah.
leaning forward, hands on knees. It's more of like that closed off body language to
Yeah.
where because I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking.
I
This,
almost felt like she was paralyzed from the neck down and didn't want to tell him. Like there were people there holding her hostage, and
Just
she was
plop her
trying
in
to she was
there.
trying to signal him. You're like, no, this is bullshit. You need to look behind the throne. No, don't
Look
walk out,
behind it.
Dan. Yeah, I can't move my legs or I'd chase you down. Yeah, that was odd. And then the artwork at the end had her in a completely different pose, more like
Yeah.
King Conan,
Yeah, Conan Fur.
where she's like
Yeah.
thinking, where she's more thinking. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a better pose, but it was odd. It was a little odd. It was like, did they film that and like try all these different poses and they just picked that one?
Let's try pose 7.
Spin the wheel of Bo-Katan poses. Is there going to be an action figure? And they had to like, the action figure's been molded this way on the throne, so we have to present it in the show this way.
Right.
But
No
is
matter how
that
awkward
truly
it
all
is.
she does now? I mean, that's what was
Yeah, it's like does she
implied.
just sit
It's
around
like-
and feel sorry for herself?
and he's like, well, what was all the big deal about you wanting to take
Yeah.
back Mandalore? It was like, she's like, whatever.
I gotta
wave
admit,
that sword around and everybody will follow you.
Everybody
Get the
just
hell
follow
out of
you.
here.
Go ahead. See you later. There's the door.
I gotta admit that gave me the bad vibes of like, we're putting it off. It's gonna take God
Right.
knows how many episodes for her to find her get off the couch.
She'll finally get off on the season finale.
Yeah. Yeah, it's he's gonna have to come back. She's gonna have some other quest for him, like or something to finally. I'll help you, Amanda, if you do this, and you bring me the exact same nail polish color of my helmet from whatever
Right.
7. And it
But I
comes
just
from the
love how she
lacquer of a death
he
tortoise.
he was like talking about the living waters and all this mythical
Mhm.
crap,
Mhm.
but and she's oh yeah, that's underneath the civic center in the
Yeah.
whatever square.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
you want a postcard. Here's one. I got the postcard from it.
That's where it is.
I did
now
the
get out
tour.
of here.
I
Yeah.
did the tour of that. It's a trickle. It's really
Yeah.
overhyped. They charge you 40 credits to go look at it.
It's the fountain in the center of the mall. There.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
Um,
funny. So on a different note, a different topic, did you guys get the same thing I did as far as the pirate Gorian Shard, the main pirate in the mothership or whatever? Was that a practical effect? It didn't look CGI. That actually looked
I
like a
think it was
practical
a
character.
practical effect.
Yeah, because that looked.
I
that
think
looked
all the
really
pirates
cool.
were at
Mhm.
least partly
Oh, I think
practical.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they
Like,
were. I
like
just wasn't
the-
sure on him, but I thought he was. He looked like a practical effect. It just didn't have that CGI shadiness to it.
Yeah.
I think
He
they're
kinda
making an
reminded me-
effort to stick
Yeah.
with that.
He
Yeah.
looked like the what was it, Davy Jones or whoever the villain was in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
movies.
Davy
It kinda
Jones.
reminded me of
Mhm.
that. Yeah,
I
and the
just
pirates were fun.
Yeah, the pirates were good.
I don't have much use for the pirates. They're not a real threat. And
Mhm.
so they're just comedic effect, really. So I mean, and they're going to think they're going to be a real threat by the end, but then what's her nuts from Boba Fett will just go to their headquarters and assassinate them all in 5 seconds because they're completely incompetent. So, so yeah, I don't buy them as I really want some villains, and
Yeah.
I know it's world building to have villains. Like he could turn into a good guy.
Mhm.
Gorian
Yeah.
Shark he could end up being a governor somewhere, just like Grief Karga. Grief Karga is going to show people the way,
Mhm.
to rehab your image and become something else. But I just want some villains, I want to, and not
Yeah.
just for no reason. I want an origin story or a reason.
Well, we're not done with
I
Moff
want
Gideon for one thing.
Yeah,
He'll be
I'm
back.
hoping
no,
Moff Gideon will be back.
but Moff Gideon was Thrawn Jr., and if Thrawn is showing up, why do
Yeah.
you need Thrawn Jr.
Yeah.
anymore? Is
Yeah.
my
Right.
question.
Well, if you focus Thrawn though into the Ahsoka series, then maybe you could give more time to Moff Gideon in this show.
Yeah,
So,
true.
That is true. Yeah, good point.
but
I
I did enjoy the asteroid field sequence though. I kept
Mhm.
looking for a potato. I didn't find a potato, but
Or a tennis shoe.
yeah, I kept looking for that stuff.
High
But
def kind of wrecks that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
high
you
def
can't
does
get
wreck
away
those,
with that
those Easter
anymore.
eggs.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, do we want to do ratings
Yeah.
Sure.
like we've done the last few? We'll do it on a scale of 1 to 10. I haven't honestly really thought about it, so I'll have to
I haven't
think about
either.
it. Okay, who would like to go first? What about you, Gundart?
Okay. I originally was gonna say just because of kind of what Greedo has said, the reservations about forwarding the plot and doing big significant things. I was gonna put it like a 7 or something like that, a 6 or so. I watched again. I give it an 8. It
8.
was just
Okay.
so charming and so much fun, and it was so good to see those characters back on screen again. It was the production values were great, unlike
Mhm.
some of the Boba Fett episodes.
Yeah.
They put real money into it. And I just really, really enjoyed it. So I'm happy with that episode. An 8 for me.
Okay. I'm going 6.5
Hmm.
for mine. It was good. Like I said, it was a good, solid setup episode. It wasn't a mind
Yeah, there's
blower.
nothing
It
wrong
was,
with us with
yeah,
a 6.5.
no, then there wasn't anything wrong with the episode. It's just, I know it's going to get, I'm hoping anyway that it's going to get better from there, but that was still
Yeah.
a good startup episode.
I think if they figured out a few little pacing things, they could give us more ups and downs rather than just a straight line. Because the probably the most shocking part of the episode was IG-11 trying to kill Grogu.
Yeah.
And we knew that wasn't going to happen either, so there wasn't
Right.
a lot of tension there, but the conflict scenes involved characters we didn't really know, like at the beginning, or they were ones that we knew weren't a threat. So if they can tweak these things to where they encounter some real danger occasionally, where we feel like there might be some threat somewhere. It's hard though, because Grogu ain't getting killed, and
Yeah.
Mando ain't getting killed, and those are our two mains. I give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6. It
Okay.
probably deserves a little better, but I'm just getting a little more jaded where I wanna save those higher ratings for when they show me
When it really
something.
matters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but really, the only thing I would criticize was kind of the pacing, the fact they had to recap things. So it's not like I'm just slamming the episode. It wasn't a disaster. It didn't set up something that I didn't want to see what was coming next, or like, oh no, Mando's jumped the shark or anything.
Yeah,
It
no.
was kind of more of the same, which is
Mhm.
good. Mando's a good thing to get more of the same. We've been waiting a long time for more of the same, but it's time to bring some more tension to it. I just, this episode ended just like, see you later, Mando.
Yeah, exactly. It was a
There
really
was,
odd ending. Yeah. He
yeah,
just turned
and
around, walked away, and they're like, oh, that
they
was
end a
it.
lot of
Okay.
episodes that way with like self-contained little stories that link to the next one.
Mhm.
I'd like to see a cliffhanger or something. I'd like to see some tension to make me want to watch, really get excited to watch next week.
Mhm.
So 6 for me.
Okay. All right. So we got a 6 from Greedo,
And I'm getting
8 from
confused
Gundark,
with
and 6.5 from me.
I'm getting confused with Pedro Pascal and magical children shows. Sometimes I get my ratings confused. It's very bizarre to have 2 of them on the air at the same time.
Right.
What else can you do?
Yeah.
Magical kids. They need to put him on a TV show where, you know, kids say the darndest magical things or whatever. I'm Pedro Pascal, and I'm looking all over the earth for kids with magical abilities. Just bring them on my show and escort them across this stage full of danger. But
All right. Any final thoughts from anybody for what we're
I
expecting?
I gotta show one
oh,
thing
cool.
here that
Yeah, it's
is
been staring at
relevant
me the
to
entire episode.
Mando
yeah.
head, potato Mando head.
It's the potato head, Mr. Potato Head.
That is
Mandalorian
awesome.
Whatever
included.
you do, don't try to cook that potato in your microwave. Beskar will cause an
And
implosion.
it says Yam DeLorean in the tot.
Yam DeLorean.
Yam DeLorean in the tot. A friend of mine gave that to me this weekend just in time for the new season. So
Perfect.
it's really cool. I've got
I
to get
love
it
it.
out and put them together. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But
I love all this stuff, but it's like if I get any more of these things, I have to pile it on top of the Mando castle-sized pile of Star Wars stuff I have already.
Exactly.
that's gonna go right next to the Darth Tater, Darth Vader potato.
Yeah,
Darth
Darth
Vader,
Tater,
Mr. Potato Head.
Love it.
I had to show that for this week.
That's great. I love it. Awesome. Well, that's gonna do it for season 3, episode 1 of The Mandalorian. We'll definitely be back next week to give our thoughts on episode 2.
Good talk. Good talk.
Definitely, absolutely. Well, thanks for watching us. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you thought, and thumbs up, subscribe. You know the drill. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
At the Cantina Club.
But yeah, overall, it was a good start of episode. A good start for the season, just to get it going in the right direction. But yeah, hopefully they press the gas.
Hey, what's going on?
What is it?
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
This isn't going to be easy.
Good luck.
You must be
Raise your
cautious.
glass, sing yum num, sing yum num. Come on, sing yum num. Singing yum num, yum num, singing yum num. At the Cantina Club.
So you're gonna wear that for the whole episode? Oh, you can see our reflection in your visor.
You gotta ask that of Mando. Are you gonna wear that for the whole episode?
That's right. If not, you're an apostate.
This is the way.